Hello people, let's create our action to edit users or create it. Let's create an asynchronous action. Let's say edit. This edit can have a nullable int. Let's say instead of a nullable int, let's say 0. If I don't supply an ID for this action, it will be taken as 0 as default. All right, let's search for the user in database. Now, let's create our VM for our user. Let's go to our VMs. Let's add this class. Say user VM. Let's copy the properties from the entity. Let's create our VM. Now we're gonna check if the user is equals to null. If the user is equals to null, I don't have to fill my object with the properties of my user. So I'll just return a view with my user VM. If it's not null, I will fill my properties. User VM dot email is equals user email. Let's await for that operation. User VM password, user VM address, user VM ID, name. Is that one more or is this 6? Email, name, password, address is admin. And now I can return my VM. But imagine if we have, now we have just 6 properties. Imagine if my class has 40 properties. This would be a really good effort, and we don't need to do that effort. We can use a package called Automapper. Let's install our package for Automapper. In the UI, manage NuGet packages. This is for Automapper. Automapper, install the latest version. All right, let's go to our program. Let's add the Automapper as a service. User add Automapper, and the properties will be app domain, current domain, get assemblies. So I will be mapping all the assemblies of my domain. Let's create a folder. This folder will be called helpers. Here we will place the helper classes of our application. Let's create a class called mapping files. This class will inherit from profile of Automapper. Create a constructor. Create a map in the constructor. Let's say user for user VM. But if I let like this, I will just map the user to user VM. I cannot do the opposite. So call the method reverse map. So we can map from user VM to user and user to user VM. Okay, let's go to our users controller. Here I will create a new private read-only field for my Automapper. Right click here, quick actions, add parameters to the user controller constructor. And here, instead of doing this, we can say mapper dot map the user to user VM. Import from core entities, and here in the constructor, let's supply here in the parameters of the method, let's apply our user. And now I can start here in my user VM. So this first is the one that will be converted, and this second is the one that will retrieve from my map method. Now we can test it if this is working. The ID of my admin user is 1, if I'm not wrong. I will first log in my application. Let's say user, edit, ID 1. Okay, my admin user has ID 1. Let's see if my VM is mapped to my VM. My VM now is empty. Now my VM has the properties of my user entity. Now this is enough for this lecture. We added Automapper in our application. And in the next lecture, we're going to create our form and save our user in the database. See you again.